y'all for tuning in to Shoes Off Talk. I'm your boy Floyd. What's going on?
You know what? I can't go before our new co-host. So I'm a step to the side and let her make her grand entrance.
Okay.
I'm your girl, Christy Austin, better known as Coco's sister. Pleasure to be here. Grateful and full of gratitude to be here. Thank you.
Awesome.
And you know who it is. It's your guy Tim. On that Floyd is on the ones and twos. I'm on the threes and fours. So, very eventful week so far. Like I said, it's always cool to get in here because this is like therapy for me. Being able to come in here and do what we do and create this platform for other people that want to that have something to say. In essence, we got a lot of things coming up, so we will be making announcements here in the next few days about the Black culture, the 6-part series regarding that. And Christy, what do you have coming up? Let's let the people know.
What I know this show as being shoes off talk because we get so deep, we need to take off our shoes.
Yes,
And
Look, hold on. They off.
took them off.
They are off.
I noticed
Shoes
Okay,
are off.
where's your let your shoes off, Floyd?
Shoes are off.
Yes.
Shoes are off.
Yes.
Yes.
Shoes
See,
are
I've
off.
already
That's
got
right.
my shoes off. I'm sitting here with my feet on the table, which I believe Tim told me not to put my feet on the table. They will
Christy
be on
don't
this
listen.
table
She don't listen.
the entire show.
If I had my feet on the table the entire show, I would lose feeling in my lower extremity. So I'm gonna let her do her thing. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Put them here for y'all so you can see them. Maybe.
God,
Better.
my hamstrings and IT bands and everything hurt looking at her.
Just
IT
like,
bands.
when I try to do that, it's like it gets to a point that my body, gets to I'll be like, okay, it's time to move. It's time to move. Come on, you can do it. And I have to literally take one foot and be like, okay, we can do this.
That means you need to work on it that much more.
Yeah.
How often do we spread our toes? We should be spreading our toes every morning. First thing when you wake up, twist those ankles and wrists, spread those toes. They're cramped up in shoes all day. You gotta release them.
Yeah, release them toes, Floyd.
Release them toes.
Release them toes.
Gotta do it. I'm gonna get it.
Y'all, this is Shoes Off Talk, so you'll never know.
Yes.
You always know.
So, before we start, can I do a little christening with Christy hour?
Sure.
Do your thing.
That's
the reason why you're on the show.
Okay. I gotta cleanse this room.
Yeah.
I don't know what's been going on in this room. I do
Look.
not know what's been going on in this room. So
Hey, hold on. What you mean you don't know what's been going on in this room?
Tim.
So, I like to use, instead of sage, I like to use Palo Santo. It has a lot of healing benefits. Other than just cleansing energies, it's great for mood and different mental disorders. It really helps with if you have headaches. It helps with a lot of things. So I'm going to go around, cleanse this room a little bit.
Boy, hit that second light switch, the one closest to you. Nope, hit it again. Okay, that was the brightest.
He's healing the room, making it.
Yeah, please cleanse Floyd.
I need all the things in it.
Yeah, cleanse Floyd. He needs it.
Get that good energy in. There we go.
Woo.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
What you
yeah.
mean you need to light it a little
You're
more
gonna need
for
another
Tim?
one. You're gonna need another one attached to that one.
I need a
Right.
few of these for you.
Don't y'all laugh at her. She's not funny. She's
All
not
right,
funny.
I gotta get the backside with you too.
Look at this, y'all.
Oh yes.
Like,
Cleanse this auric field.
this is not an exorcism. This is just regular cleansing of the room. I'm not possessed. Get Floyd too. Get Floyd too.
I did. I got Floyd before, but we'll get his backside here.
Yeah. Yeah. Get him.
The cleanse.
All right.
I don't like how you doing that. We're gonna move these cameras around a little bit. Shoes off talk. Look, you never know what you're liable to see during shoes off talk.
Hey,
let me get past you.
Do you need to get past
We're
me?
getting our production done right.
All
We
right.
were supposed to have. Let's be honest. Let's go ahead and tell people what it is. Larvell was actually supposed to be here.
Yes.
And because he's not here, we've had to change the studio around a little bit to make sure now we have everybody where they're supposed to be. Thanks, Larvell.
Right.
I'm gonna keep
Well.
that to myself. All right, let's get it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, before we get started,
Oh yeah.
we just want to thank our drink and healthy food sponsor, Energized Nutrition. These are the peanut butter balls, the protein peanut butter balls.
They're good. Those are good.
Yes. Go check out our girl over at Energized Nutrition.
Addie.
Addie, she's on the corner of Cooper and Ray. Yeah, go get your healthy drinks and snacks.
Addie's the best.
She is. So, Christy,
Tim.
what are we talking about today, Floyd?
Wait, first off, did you notice what I'm wearing today?
Oh,
You just flew
you
right
know
by
what?
that. You didn't
know
even
what?
notice.
Let's
Failure breeds success.
let's go ahead and make sure these cameras are correctly
Hold on.
displaying.
Do we see failure breeds success? See
Chrissy, you can back up.
I
a
know,
little
back
bit.
up.
Like, I'm sure that they can see.
They need to read it. Can they read it?
Yes.
Need to get close so everyone can see. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
For all of y'all that's late in tuning in, this is Christy Austin, better known as.
Coco's sister.
I just wanted to put her through that again. But you know what?
You know what? I've embraced it. I'm like, yes. People go, hey, I know you. You're and I'm like, Coco's sister. Yes. That's
Yes.
me.
Put a picture of Coco up and a picture of Christy up, and you can definitely tell they are sisters. Like, they are sisters. Yeah, that's her. Relationships
Choose
wisely.
wisely.
But before we get into that, we were getting into.
We were talking about it's not the people that we focus so much on enemies, right? Like we want to talk crap all the time and we always got our eye on our enemies because we expect them to stab us in the back, right? But it's never our enemies that hurt us. We expect them to stab us in the back, so if it happens, it doesn't even hurt. It's the people closest to us that hurt us the most. Why is that? Why is it that the people closest to us have that power to hurt us?
Well, I saw a meme the other day as well regarding that, and the meme said, getting stabbed in the back is not the hardest part or the toughest part of that. It's when you turn around and see who's holding the knife. That's the part that is hard for us to digest. And And what we were talking about before we came on the show is that a lot of times you go through life, especially when you're at a certain level in life, you have some people that are really in your corner, that really support you, really motivate you, really have your back. It's when you move to those higher levels in your life that the animosity, the envy, the jealousy starts creeping in. And the people that have always had your back are the ones that disappear on you. Those are the ones that disappear on you. And I think, just like Chrissy was talking about, is like, it's that unexpected of, I never would have thought it would have been you. And yeah, it's true. We experience it all the time.
So that makes me think it brings us to expectations, right? Because we have no expectations for our enemies, but we have expectations for our loved ones, our family, friends, children. We have these high expectations for them, and when they don't fit those expectations or follow through, we get hurt. So it's really not those people that are hurting us, it's our expectations of them.
And it's funny you say that, because I say this, I've said this quite a bit. I said, we fall prey to when we put our expectations that we have for ourselves on someone else. That's unrealistic, but we do it, and it's something that we do innately. Like, we don't even think about it, because if I ask you to do something, you do it a certain way, you actually may have gotten the job done and got the goal accomplished. But in my mind, I would have, whether I say it or not, I'm thinking in my head, I wouldn't have did it that way. Mm-hmm. And I think we fall prey to that because we get disappointed when people don't meet the expectations that we have for ourselves. And I'm going to tell you the reverse of that. What we also have a habit of doing, we also have a habit of having higher expectations for other people than we have for ourselves.
I can see that.
Yeah. That's something that is really prevalent, especially in today's society, is that we want to vicariously live our life through other people, but we don't want to take that step to do the things that we need to do to get to that step in our own life. Right. So we vicariously live our life through other people, and we get disappointed when they don't do the things that we would do if we were in their position. Mm-hmm. But we won't take the time to put ourselves in those positions.
Is that more so of the energy that has to be put into it?
I think and it's funny because that you just open the door to something that we're probably going to talk about a little bit later. I think it's the fear of failure. It's the fear of failure, and the fear of failure has really caused a lot of people to not even live life to the fullest. And a lot of times it's not our own failures. We look at the failures of other people. Like, oh no, I saw him fall flat on his face. I ain't gonna try. How do you know that wasn't meant for you? How do you know God didn't mean for you to see him doing that, and to stir up something in you for you to try it, because you're the one that it's meant to be with? And that fear of failure, man, is such a big detriment to us, because we think failure is the opposite of success. And it's not. It's part of success. There's nowhere in the world you're going to get to success without going through failures. Right. And the people that we admire the most have failed the most.
And they're also the first to say they don't see it as failure. If you ask them how many times you failed this many times before you got it right, they go, no. I learned this many times. I grew this many times. And I definitely have fallen prey for that many times. Even like going through the divorce, it's like, I failed. I failed as a woman. I failed as a wife. I failed, you think that. And it's like, you don't even want to try again. You don't even, and then now I'm like, no, I experienced life. I experienced what most people wouldn't experience in a lifetime. Unless it's in their dreams, even if it's nightmares, it's still, I experienced it. Like, I created that. Like, it's not something to be looked at as failure, but we grew from it. We learned from it. All the most successful people do not view failure as failure. They view it as learning, as growth. So that we should learn from them. You know, that's a beautiful thing right there. And to your point about we have higher expectations for others, definitely, especially our loved ones. Think about how many times we tell our kids, you know, to do something that we've never done. And if I had this opportunity when I was your age, I tell my kids that all the time.
Oh yeah.
So yes,
Oh, yeah.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah, it all goes. It's crazy how we actually came up with like 2 or 3 different topics, and they're all actually being tied in to each other through this conversation. But you talk about when you were married, and one of the other things that we were kind of alluding to as far as topics is concerned is being wise when you choose your mate. How important is it for you to choose your mate wisely, Floyd?
Very important.
Why?
Important because it's like if I'm not choosing the right mate, my whole life will be hectic. It'll be my stress level will be way up. Not knowing if I'm coming or going. If I mean things are not on the same. If we're not on the same page or anything, yeah, it's not gonna be good at all. I mean, that's why they always say you always got to get someone that's equally yoked. Because if you don't, then your life will be ruined for the rest of your life.
Yeah. What say you, Christy?
Definitely. That's something that I underestimated when I was younger. And it's funny because I remember like my mom always saying, make a list of what you want and what you don't want in a relationship. Like her friend had done that. She was happily married. And she was saying, you want to make a list of what you want. So I remember my list. Such bull. Now thinking about it. Because what I focused on is what I don't want. I don't want a cheater. I don't want someone who's disrespectful. Let me tell you something. The universe doesn't hear don't. It just hears want. And it gives you exactly what you ask for. So all the things I'm saying, I don't, it gave me all of that. So now my list and my advice to all of you making a list, because I do believe in lists, the universe gives us what we ask for. Ask and it shall be received. So when you make your list, you focus on what you want, not don't want. And if all you can think about is what you don't want, you flip it and you focus on, you write that down and you focus on that, not the don'ts. So there's my advice.
It's so funny you said that because, a lot of us are wired differently, in our thought process. Being a preacher's kid growing up in church, a lot of my foundation is biblical, is church. And the analogies that I use are the things that have impacted my life: church, military, sports. So that's why I use a lot of analogies as it pertains to those things. But talking about that, speaking your truths and speaking things into existence, and even the Bible says, be specific in what you ask God for. And I use the analogy, it could be used for anything. If you want a vehicle, if you want a truck, you don't say, God, bless me with a truck. No, be specific. God, I want a 2023 Toyota Tundra with black interior. And as stupid as that sounds, it's like what you said. It's like if you start professing those things, and the Bible says, speak it with your mouth, and it gets deep rooted into you. You start saying those things. You bring things to fruition by the words that you say. That's why we have to be mindful in the things that we say. Like you said, if you're not speaking positive in your life, the universe doesn't hear what I don't want. The universe hears, like you said, what I want. And so you may saying don't, but the fact that you're speaking it, and I say it all the time, it's like we gotta change our mindsets and the way we view things. It's like we always have this negative perception of things that have historically been perceived as negative, like failure. Failure has always been a taboo conversation that nobody
Right.
ever wanted to have because it was always associated with something negative. But it's really not. And like we were talking about the influential people, the difference between us and them is they had figured out how to use failure as a blueprint for their success. Every department of every company, of every organization has what they call an underwriting department. And that underwriting department may go by different names, but their job is to really to do evaluation of a company and over a period of time see what has worked and what hasn't worked. That a way they can get to the point to where they have a refined product because they've done all of the testing. They've gone through all of the failures. They figured out what doesn't work. And even the things that works, you still have to figure out what works for you. I may find out something that works, but is it in line with what I want it to do for me? You know, and that goes back to choosing a partner. That goes back to choosing a partner. It all goes hand in hand because what you see as a good partner may not be a good fit for me. And I say that because we have a habit, especially with the implementation of social media, we have a habit of looking at what somebody else has, and we want that.
Right.
We want that because we feel like that makes us bigger, better. That puts a light on us, and this and that, and it's super important when it comes to picking your partner because that is a person that is going to catapult you to the areas of your life that you need to go, or is going to hold you back from the areas of your life that you need to go. And it's so important, like what you said, to be equally yoked. And that doesn't mean we got to get an understanding. When we say equally yoked, it's not saying that you have to agree on everything.
Right, exactly.
That's not what we're saying. That that I made a shirt the other day. No, it was actually a meme that I posted. I said, I strive for perfection knowing that I will never achieve it. And what that simply means is if you set your goals high enough, even if you fall short, you'll be where you want to be. That was something that Kobe strived for. But as it pertains to relationship, you know, that person is an extension of you. You are an extension of that person. So if you're not choosing your mate wisely, the representation of you will be misrepresented.
100%.
And so it just, and like we always say, it's like like we just said, we don't have to find that perfect person. We just need to find that person that's perfect for us.
Right.
And it doesn't mean agreeing with everything that we do, but, you know, you really just, if it all boils down to you have to find somebody that's willing to communicate with you. Communication is so key in every aspect of life. I don't care what it is, relationships, business, whatever it is. If you have good communication, you can get through anything.
So why is it hard to communicate?
See, there you go.
I mean,
There
it's
you
like,
go.
It gets to a point that we go through life and we always say the communication is number one, and we talk to people, we do all that, but why is it at the same time?
And
hard?
we sound like it's so easy,
It's
but we make it so hard. Why is that?
Because everyone wants to be heard, but when you're upset when you're triggered, you're not listening to the other person. You're just trying to talk over them. So, and you're not feeling heard, and the other person's not feeling heard. So it's this weird dynamic of no one's feeling heard in the relationship. And also we all communicate differently. We have different communication skills. So it's finding a person that you can communicate with. And I think seeing if you're compatible, like what is it that's important to you in your life? What does your journey look like? What's your 5-year plan, 10-year plan? What does that look like to you? Do we have the same kind of vision? Do we have similar interests? What are your hobbies? Like, because you don't have to have the same hobbies. It's good to have actually separate things, do things separately, but also you want to enjoy doing things together. So having some similar hobbies is very important. Also, we all have different love languages. So, have you
That's
read
where
that?
Christy comes in.
Have you heard that? The five love languages. Have you read that book? The five. Okay,
I haven't read the book. I don't like the
That's important. Like knowing your partner's love language, because you have some people that's like words of affirmation. I could care less about words of affirmation. My love language is physical touch and quality time. So what that also means for me is that if
This
there's
is a
not
PG show, Christy. So make sure your love language is PG.
But see, so there could be like in a relationship, if you're my partner, which I've been in this situation, is words of affirmation. If he's not constantly getting notes and letters and things, not feeling loved. And for me, if there's no intimacy, I'm feeling like there's something wrong in the relationship.
Okay.
So how important is intimacy in a relationship? Can we go there? Are we
Well,
allowed to talk about that?
let me make a comment on the communication piece. I think there's a lot of things that are influenced when it comes to the ability or inability to communicate, and I think it boils down to accountability as it pertains to that. Is like everybody has gone through different things in their lives, whether it be traumatic, whether it be whatever it is. And I think going through those different components of your life and going through those different changes and the roller coasters of life, I think that affects people's ability to communicate, especially if they haven't been put in a situation to where they had to effectively communicate. And that's important as well. It's like you could talk all day and never say nothing. You could talk all day and never say nothing. And it's like what we talked about last week is being effective is what's important. It's like you can't just talk and not have any substance to what you're saying to make people want to communicate and have that dialogue with you, and also that just would want to listen to you. Mm-hmm. And so I think our life and our history and our past affects our ability to communicate. That's why I think accountability has to come in a point to where you got to say, okay, I'm at a certain point in my life and the way I've been communicating hasn't worked. I need to try something else. Right. And when you open your mind, I think that's also important as it pertains to relationships is being open-minded. Be willing to accept change. In the military, they tell us adapt and overcome. And it really is about life in general. Yeah, we may be talking about relationships, but that's life. You go through a job change. You can't do the same thing on this job that you did on that job. The job may be the same, but how they go about doing the job may be different. You got people that don't even want to hire people that have a ton of experience as it pertains to certain jobs because they want to be able to bring you in and train you on how they want you to do it, not how you've been doing it in the past. And like we talked about earlier, I may get the same result, but the thing is, I need you guys to be in accordance with how everyone else is doing, because that may be just a small piece of it. And when you go to push that thing on to the next person, they need to know how you came about with the result that you came about. So effective communication is so important. Communication in general, but effective communication, and I'm going to tell you the thing that goes hand in hand with that is effective listening.
Which we all have.
Come on. Look, I ain't going to sit here. There's been points in my life where I had to learn how to effectively listen. And it's because it's strictly because when you've gone through so much in your life, we have a tendency to think that nobody knows better but me, especially as it pertains to me. Nobody knows me like I know me. Right. But am I open to learn more about me? And a lot of times it doesn't come from within. It comes from somebody else's experiences. Because the best view you can have is from the outside. Because when you're in something, it's hard for you to see all the corners and the nooks because you're in the center. But someone that has that bird's eye view, that's looking from up here, that can say, hey, I can see what's going on behind your back. I know what's going on.
But then just like when we talked about before, it's to that point. Are you accepting the feedback that's given to you?
That's important as well. Is being open to criticism.
Yes, and also understanding that your partner cannot read your mind. We think that our partner knows us so well, they should know I would get upset if they did this way. Right. We expect them to know, but we can't. We have to express ourselves. And I personally was one of those that didn't communicate very well. I felt like my partner should know me, should know what I'm thinking, should know how I am. And I realized in doing that, when they weren't following up to my expectations, I would not only get hurt by it, I thought that that it would shut me off. It would shut me off. And I would breed resentment for them. And I realized that it's my own doing because I'm not communicating with them. I'm projecting all of this and my issues when really in reality, they can't read my mind. I have to communicate. So there's that.
And I think also we have to realize that the content of our communication needs to be pure. It needs to have some kind of substance to it because everybody has something to say. And I think as it pertains to relationships, we have to learn how to pick and choose our battles. I think that is so important. It's like for people that feel like that they just have to have something to say, typically those are the people that don't know how to pick and choose their battles. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not everything needs to be talked about. Because what it turns into is you literally spewing on the person that you're in a relationship with, and now they got to decipher of what's important. Like you're complaining about everything, but what's important? What is it? What is the basis of it? What can we? We're not gonna figure everything out. This is not gonna be perfection. Right. But what are the things that's important? And I think that's when you talk about effective communication. I think when we have those communications, we need to pick out the things that are important that we're communicating about. Is because it turns from effective communication to complaining. And complaining is not communicating. Right. It's not. It gets to a point to where it is because you're going from one person to another person. It is. Well, I'll just say it's not effective communication because it just gets to the point to where complaining becomes the only way you communicate. And is that really when you think about communication, that's you saying something and you saying something and me saying something back to you. When you're complaining, that's one-sided. Like you're just talking at me. Right. You're not talking to me.
Right, because when you're complaining, if it's a person that's complaining a lot and stuff, then that's their way of communicating. Because they're complaining. That's the only way they know how to communicate. Well, why? Because if I'm complaining to you all the time, and that's the only way I know how to communicate with you, then therefore that's how.
You need to learn how to effectively communicate.
Right.
Like that's the thing though. In my mind, that is effective communicating.
See, because everyone communicates differently.
But that's not effective communication.
Not.
And it's like we said, it's having accountability to understand that. And it didn't just start in this relationship. If you're that kind of person to where all you do is complain, this has been a history. You didn't just start doing that in this relationship. There's a history of it. So having accountability means that I can't keep doing the same thing that I've been doing in all of these other relationships and understanding that the result has never been positive. And now that I'm in a situation that could be something great for me, now I need to learn how to effectively communicate. And that's really every aspect of our life. I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing expecting different results. You can't live your life like that. I don't care how long you've been doing a thing. If that thing hasn't worked and turned out in your favor, it's time to change it up.
Right.
It's time to change it up. And I think we get to a certain age to where we feel like that we don't need to change it up. If that's the case, if you want to get stuck in this rut where you don't want to effectively communicate, you don't want to change is not what you like to do, then you need to be by yourself. Because it's not fair to people that you are getting involved in your life, because they could literally be with other people that are willing to make change, that are willing to effectively communicate. And it's just selfish. It's just selfish. And that all comes a part of being able to be accountability, not for your actions. What are you over
I was
there
blowing
doing?
a kiss and giving a heart. I was getting some love.
I was like, what is going on in the background?
Effectively communicating.
I'm effectively communicating
And
without
that's
speaking.
that's effectively communicating.
With letting them know I see you. I see you. Thank you for the sweet comments, kisses, without speaking.
And you know what's so crazy is effective communication doesn't have to be what you say. Effective communication can be your actions. You can tell me you love me as much as you want, but if your actions don't show that you love me, you're not effectively communicating that, or you don't really love me as much as you say you do. And it's funny that you were doing that. It's like it really is. It's like effective communication, and communication is not just what words that come out of your mouth, because we got a lot of people that are great with words. People can sell ice to a polar bear, but it's your actions. It's what you show. I was saying this the other day. You can say you're sorry and apologize as much as you want, but it means nothing if you haven't changed your behavior. Yeah. Changed behavior is the biggest form of an apology that you can make as it pertains to somebody or a group of people or whatever, whoever you're involved with. Changed behavior lets people know that not only am I sorry, I'm willing and I'm accepting the role of wanting to change my behavior to where this doesn't continue to happen.
Right. And I'd like to bring up a point with communication, because most of the time when we are complaining or arguing, we're not even hearing what the other person is saying. So how can we change our behavior if we're not even letting it in? Uh-huh. So what I like to say is never have a serious conversation when you're upset. When you hear that bickering, when you're upset, you need to remove yourself from the situation. You need to give it a day, sleep on it, let yourself calm down. Because when you're yelling, there's a wall you're hitting that you're not getting through to that person. So, and I know there's some times where it's like you need to deal with this right now. Well, then you need to turn around, put your backs together, breathe, learn to calm yourself down and focus on listening to each other, because the yelling back and forth or the sarcastic comments, that's not effective communication, because you're not hearing each other. How are you supposed to expect that person to do what it is that you're asking, or to hear what it is that you're asking, if you are yelling at them, or if you're sarcastically saying something to them? That's not going to get through, because it makes them feel attacked. It doesn't make them feel heard or loved. You should always communicate in a loving way. And if you can't do that because you're so upset in the moment, give it a day until you're not so upset.
Remove yourself from the situation. And that's so important too, is when it comes to communicating is to know when. Is to know when. And in the heat of the moment, a lot of times you're not going to have effective communication if you're trying to communicate in the heat of the moment. I don't care if one person is able to overcome the obstacle of being in the heat of the moment. You have to be considerate of the other person, because maybe that other person can't communicate in the heat of the moment. And this is so important. What you was just saying is like, you don't want to have to try to effectively communicate in the midst of turmoil. You want to create almost kind of like a safe space. Because we know when it's turmoil and things are heated, people are going to say things that they shouldn't say, and a lot of times we say stuff that is never able to be fixed. Sometimes we say some damaging stuff that stays with a person because you don't know that person's history. You don't know what they've been through. And for you to say some of the things that you said just took them back to those moments in their lives that was so damaging for them. And so that's super important that we pick the times that we effectively communicate, because it's not always the right time. It's not always the right time. In public is not the right time. In the heat of the moment is not the right time. That's why I say this. It's important that you have things that you enjoy doing, like hobbies. I think that's important, is that you want to be able to have those things that you can turn to that kind of brings a calmness to you. You know, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, or, you know, like me, I love, you know, shooting my guns. I love riding my bike, you know, going boating and doing different things. That's why, you know, I tell guys all the time, man, get you an outlet, get you something that you enjoy doing away from home. And as wrong as this may sound, I've always been the type that, especially when it comes to relationships, that a couple days a week, you need to be doing something by yourself. You need to have that you time where it ain't your partner, it ain't your spouse, it's something that you enjoy doing by yourself, because we have to understand it's just human nature for us to get on each other's nerves, especially when you live with someone and you're constantly seeing. And now, especially with the advent of people, you know, working remotely, you got a couple that's working, both of them working remotely, and they're in the house together. You don't have that time throughout the day, that 8 or 9 hours where you're here, that person's there, and you guys get to meet each other, get to be away from each other. And then when you meet up, you know, when everybody gets off work, now it's like, hey, how was your day? You got something to talk about. But if you're constantly around somebody, you don't have anything to talk about. Like, you don't have that check-in type of moments that you have on a daily basis. How was work? You know, so it's important that we have outlets and we have those days during the week that we go do our own thing. And I think that, you know, when you are equally yoked, that is so important, because when you're equally yoked, those people take the time to get to know their partner, their likes, their dislikes. And I think it's so important, because it gets to a point in relationships where certain things just should not have to be said. You should already know it. And that's the biggest sign of respect, is to take the time to get to know your partner. I should not, if we've been in a relationship for 2 or 3 years, I should not have to ask you what you like to eat. Right. I should not have to ask you, what do you enjoy doing? I should not have to ask you what you like to wear. I should not have to ask you what disappoints you or what upsets you. And I think when you take the time to get to know your partner to those depths, it releases a lot of that tension, because at a certain point in your relationship, it just becomes innate. Like, you don't even think about it; you just know it. And we talked about this the other day. It's like, I think a lot of the issue is this boss up woman now. This boss up woman, like I want to be the corporate, you know, as it pertains to women. I want to be the head of this corporation. Want to be. I think that's playing a part, because what it's doing. Let me go ahead and clarify. What it's doing is making a man feels like he no longer has a role as the head of his house anymore, and as a decision maker. And I love the fact that we got a lot of women out here that's running corporations, that A lot of them are the breadwinners in the household. But I just think that is fine to a point, but as it pertains to your relationship and your household, I don't care if you make $10 million and your husband makes $1,000 a month. He is the head of your household and he is the head of your relationship. But what we're doing is, as women, we're taking the corporation and the job stuff and all of this stuff and we're bringing it into the household. And we're cutting our men off at the knees. We're taking, you know, the heart for men and not letting them do what they've been placed to do, and that's to be the protector, the decision maker, and the head of the household. And I think with the advent of everybody, all the females wanting to be a boss, we lose that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a boss, but there has to be some balance as it pertains to
I agree
relationship.
with what you said. The man is the head of the house. It doesn't matter how much either person makes. You're together. You're in it together. It's unity. The price tag shouldn't be of a concern in the household. So respect should always be there regardless of how much that person's making. Either person is making. It doesn't matter who's the breadwinner, who's making more money than the other. That doesn't matter. What I think it is with women being in this business role is that we realize that we don't need to put up with the bullshit. It's like, wait a second. I'm doing all of this and I'm still having to deal with this bullshit at home. I don't need this. That could be some of it. Now everyone's different. Every situation is different. I understand that. But I think that is a big part of it, of why women are finally realizing their worth. And they don't need to be walked all over. And they're going to stand up for themselves. Now, you should always have respect for your partner. It doesn't matter if you're making more money than the other person. But for so many years, it was the man dominating and the breadwinner, and you listen to me, woman, and you have no say-so. And I know this personal being, like I can't speak because I don't have a voice. I'm not allowed to talk. And when a woman realizes that she does have a voice, she can talk, a lot of times she checks out of that relationship because she no longer needs it. And a fun little statistic, what is the statistic? Here I go. A fun little statistic, men who are married die older. Their age expands an extra 10 years when they're married. A woman who is married, her life expectancy is 10 years shorter. Why is that, ladies? I say it's because the men suck the life out of us.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Stop it. I got a statistic for you. 70% of all relationships are ended by the woman.
And that's not surprising to me at all. Yeah, because we're finally realizing that we're worth more.
Look, okay, and this is where I love having her on here, because now we get a different, we get a different perspective, from a female's perspective, but also people will only do what you allow them to do to you. If you're in a relationship where your voice isn't being heard, where you're being told to sit down and shut up, and it's all because you're not the breadwinner, you're the stay-at-home mom. We all have decisions to make. We all are responsible for the decisions we make, and everyone has a choice. If you put yourself in a situation where you don't have a choice, nobody's fault that you're in that situation but you. If you're in a relationship, a toxic relationship, nobody has a gun to your head making you stay in that relationship. I think what happens, and this is men and women, because men have a tendency to stay in stuff longer than they should too, and it's that being that Captain Save a woman.
What is that saying?
Captain Save a Woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That Captain Save a Woman. And we just all have to realize that we all have to give accountability for the decisions that we make and the partners that we choose and just life decisions altogether. And I think the other thing that plays a part is as we get older, when we were younger, we envisioned our lives going a specific way. We said we were going to be married at a certain age. We said we were going to have kids at a certain age. We were going to have our career was going to be, at a certain age or a certain point in our lives. We was going to have the house with the picket fence and all of this other stuff. And I think as we get older, when we haven't achieved those things, I think at that point is when we start settling, basically. We start finding things that resemble that instead of the things that actually is that, and say, hey, he or she is what, I envision the person that I'm with looking like. Like, you ain't looking at the morals or anything else. Is I want that visual. That's who I want people to see me with. Because we all have decisions that we have to stand by, and like we said, one of your biggest decisions is choosing your partner, and especially with men, we're not smart enough to hide anything. So 9 times out of 10, if you were in a toxic relationship or you was with somebody that, as it pertains to a guy, that you shouldn't have been with, I'm willing to bet any amount of money you saw those characteristics in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And you chose to look by it. You chose to deal with it, and yeah.
Then it gets to a point that you chose to deal with it, and then you chose because you felt to yourself, you're like, well, this is the one that I'm going to have to take because I don't know if I'm going to get that one over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to get that one over
Yeah.
there. Or that one
You
over
start
there.
selling.
So
You start selling.
basically, it's like, oh well, if she really wants to be with me, then let me go ahead and just be with her then.
And don't and this is the thing that kind of ties the knot on all of that. And don't have kids. Because we have a tendency to stay in things before the kids. And it's the most wrong thing that you can do is stay in something toxic or something that's not beneficial to you because of kids. Because what ends up happening is not only affecting you, now you have exposed your kids to that toxicity. And it's damaging. Any relationship that I've ever been in, I own every aspect of it because I made the decision to do it. I made the decision to get involved with it. And I could have very well made the decision to end it when I first seen the signs of whatever it is. But we get comfortable in these relationships and, hey, I got this business. We got this business tied together. We have this house and all of these different things. For me to start over, it's going to be this and this. If your sanity and your peace of mind isn't worth you starting over, stay in it and see where it goes.
See that right there, that's the biggest thing right there. That whole word, starting over.
Change. It's what we talked about earlier.
Right.
It's the only
People fear change.
definite in life that we have is change.
Yeah. And if you're not one of them people that are willing to adapt and overcome and effectively want change, then hey, you're gonna settle with the cards that you've dealt yourself. Because we don't have them prearranged weddings and marriages like they do in other countries. So you ain't the decision to do what you did was your decision. So now you have to live with it. So, man, today's show was amazing. It's great to have Christy on here because, like I said, she gives us a woman's perspective, and a lot of times when we talk about stuff, we're not in agreement on a lot of things. But what is so amazing about it is that we can get different perspectives from everybody that sits at this table, and I for me, I learn something on a daily, whenever we have our shows. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today.
We talked about relationships. We didn't even get into the sex talk. Come on. You said wait until the end. I was waiting.
Well, I think what we're going to
Next
do is we're going to
episode,
do a
next episode.
whole episode of
Relationships.
intimacy. We're going to call it intimacy. And of course, probably Christy is going to be running that episode. That will be Christy's Corner. And that's what we're going to call segments that are kind of devoted to her, is Christy's Corner. Of course, we don't put baby in the corner, but that'll be Christy's Corner because that is what she does. And so if you want to know something, why not go to the experts? And so we're blessed and honored to have her on the show now. We appreciate everybody that's tuning in all over the country, all over the world. I know her audience is probably ecstatic as hell on her end. So we want to try to tie all of our audience in so people can actively be a part of what we have going on here. Once again, I just want to thank Energized Nutrition for supplying us with these tasty beverages. And also, these are just a couple of the items that she has, like the protein peanut butter balls. But she has a whole list of things. But I just want to give a shout out to everybody that tuned in today. We appreciate and love you guys for taking time out of your day. And I say this all the time. We don't take people's time for granted. We understand that you could have been doing something else and you chose to tune into us. And we thank you for it. So
I've got some really funny comments here. I'm sorry. It's making me laugh. Did he just say peanut butter balls?
oh my
Someone
God,
says, stick my feet in your mouth. I can't help but
well, we may not be merging Christy's audience with our audience because she's got kind of a eclectic, we're going to call it eclectic audience. But it's something to look forward to because this show, Shoes Off Talk, is going to be very interesting moving forward. And so I'm excited to see what's to come. Like I said, we love you guys giving us the comments, both negative and positive, because that's the only way we're going to improve on this. We're learning every day. I think we're starting to get this down a little bit more each time we're on. If you have something you want to talk about or you want to create a podcast, we have the equipment here. The location that we're in is, the ambiance is amazing. A full restaurant, 2 bars. It's just a great atmosphere. And so hit us up, message us up, hit Christy up, hit Larvell up, hit Floyd up, hit myself up. If you guys are interested in doing a podcast, we can walk you through it. We can mentor you, sit down and discuss pricing. But we've got all the equipment. All you need to do is show up. Show up and show out. But we want to end today's show. Christy, just so you know, when we go to end the show, we say love, peace, and soul. Okay? Christy, we should have did this off camera to prepare. But this is Shoes Off Talk, and so you never know what you might see on this show. Yeah, especially with Christy. Like we gonna need to go over some things. But no, we're not, because we like the surprises that come on the show. We're going to keep you guys coming back every week because you ain't going to never know what you're going to see on the show. So as we end all shows, love, peace, and soul.